Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of The New World. And in today's video, after waiting such a long time, I know I've been ready. The Oklahoma City Thunder cap off a historic 68-win season with a Game 7 victory over the Indiana Pacers to become the second youngest team to win the NBA Finals and the first roster to win a championship for their franchise, as well as having the league's MVP to lead the torch. Another question was brewing leading to the finale of the finals, and that is if Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is now the greatest Thunder in history. In today's video, we will be answering that question as well as recapping the finals run and if the Oklahoma City Thunder will be the next dynasty since the Golden State Warriors. But before we do that, make sure to hit that subscribe button and help us on the road to 10K subs. Hit that like button if you enjoy the content, and make sure to share this video to your friends, your family, tell anyone, tell all about the new world. But make sure you comment your thoughts on the Thunder's finals run and if you think SGA has took the title as the greatest Thunder of all time. And check out any of our previous videos if you haven't. Now without further ado, Bardo, what were your thoughts on this year's NBA Finals? And do you think the Thunder have now begun their dynasty run for this decade? And lastly, does SGA capping off a season that only 4 have done, and Shaq, Kareem, MJ 4 times, and now SGA as the only players to win MVP, scoring champ, and finals MVP in a season, make SGA the greatest Thunder of all time ahead of Russell Westbrook and KD?
With the last question, yeah, I think you got to give him that. I think all time, I think that Kevin Durant is a better player than SGA right now. I'm just gonna say that right now because SGA is only 26. And I think I can make a legitimate argument that Durant was more impactful and better in OKC, but I think that being able to, close the deal is warranted. This is one of the greatest seasons of all time from an individual perspective, so I would give it to him. Now, if somebody were to tell me that they think it's Kevin Durant, I'm not gonna push back on that. I don't want to hear no Russell Westbrook shit. I don't even want to hear that. So it's really just between SGA and KD. But I would give it to him. I would give it to SGA. I just think that this caliber season we really haven't seen since a Kevin Durant from a scoring perspective, and we can really go back to Jordan. And I've been saying that all season long that this guy is Jordan-esque in terms of just his and it's not like early 90s Jordan. It's really like 96, 97 Jordan, just the way that he's operating. But his game is Kobe-like, very Kobe Bryant-like, but efficient. And that's one thing that I've always admired about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is his efficiency, as well as his consistency. Those things have, in my opinion, have really put him in that top 2, top 3 players right now in the NBA. And he's the only guard that's in that convo, because we're talking about the top 3. I think it's easily Jokic, Giannis, whoever else. I'll put SGA in that tier. The dynasty talk needs to slow down. I just think that the NBA is just so competitive right now that I think that we need to pump the brakes on dynasty. I do think that this team should be favored to win the next championship. They got some tough decisions to make in terms of from an offseason perspective on people that they're going to sign. I'm curious to see how SGA is going to handle his deal, because if he does want to have a dynasty, I ain't trying to count brothers' pockets, but he should take a little bit less. You feel me? To give opportunity for guys like J-Dub and Chet to get their bread and maybe retain some of those pieces that are probably going to go if he doesn't. But he can decide to do whatever he wants. He deserves the max. He can take the max. But that is just something that I would probably recommend. It's like, okay, if you're really trying to start a dynasty, if you're trying to build on championships, you're going to need to retain some of these assets. Now, Oklahoma City Thunder right now, they still have a shitload of picks. A lot of picks going all the way to 2030. They still have that Topic dude that tore their ACL and didn't play all this past season because they didn't need him. So they still have a lot of talent. But the biggest thing about this NBA climate is that with that second apron, it makes it really, really hard to retain star level talent. Just with that, because it basically is like a hard salary cap. So with that, it's going to be very, very difficult. And other teams are out there trying to get better. We see what the Houston Rockets are doing. You still have teams like the Los Angeles Lakers that are always going to be competitive now that they have Luka Doncic on the team. So Minnesota is not. They're still going to be there. The Spurs are probably going to try to make something happen. So that Western Conference is so deadly that I think it would be irresponsible for me to say that this team is on dynasty pathway right now. Just looking at the track record of previous teams, like all of these other teams, like, you know, we thought the Celtics were on track to be a dynasty. Niggas were talking about the Nuggets and all these other teams, Bucks. We were saying that all these other teams are going to be on track to win multiple championships, and they didn't. Now, I do think that Oklahoma City is built a little bit differently from those teams with the youth and them really kind of, in my opinion, if we just going to be honest, I think they kind of underperformed a little bit in this playoff run, really just due to experience. I think that at some points of times throughout the postseason run, their offense was terrible. It was awful. It was literally just, I think that a lot of those niggas were shook, meaning Chet Holmgren and a lot of these other guys were not ready for the moment. And it was just like, okay, we're just going to give it to SGA and he's just going to kind of go ISO and try to draw a foul. And that's really not a conducive way to win a championship. I think that methodology was really akin to the fact of the youth. So I don't think that that'll be a problem next season because they've already won a championship. But that, in my opinion, was the reason why their run, they had 2 7-game series, and why they could have lost this one against the Indiana Pacers. I think a lot of it was due to experience. Mark Daigneault being this first time on this playoff run, I think there were pivotal moments throughout the series where he got out-coached by Rick Carlisle. Game 1, for sure. Changing your lineup when it's been working for you throughout the complete duration of the postseason, I thought that was a scared tactic for him to do. They should have won that game. So there were moments throughout this playoff run where I was kind of like questioning the youth and inexperience of the team, but they got the job done because they were the best team in the league. So Dynasty talk, we need to kind of hold off on that for now. I did see some things throughout the finals that I was impressed with. That being the evolution of J-Dub and him just gaining confidence, having a 40-point game in NBA Finals in that Game 5. I was very, very impressed with that. And I think, you know, over the latter half of that series in the finals, he maintained his consistency. Game 7, he wasn't all that great. He was okay. Game 7s are always kind of weird. But from that, really ever since Game 2 on, he just continued to ramp up and improve on his game. It was real steady. So I think that he showed a lot. He showed that he's a 3-level scorer. He can get a bucket. He just needs to continue to be consistent. He's a great defensive player as well. Chet Holmgren, what is going to be with him is his defense is magnificent. He is one of the most versatile defenders that I've seen in this era. When they go with him at the 5, that is probably their best lineup when they have all of those defensive guys. You know, you got Cason Wallace, and you also got Shea and J-Dub, and you throw in Caruso, and then you throw in Chet. They can switch everything. So even when a point guard gets a matchup on Chet, Chet can still maintain his ground. He has great control as a shot blocker. He stays on his feet. He doesn't, lead into fouls. The problem with him is going to be his weight and his offensive consistency. And I think a lot of that is attributed to his weight because he has to improve on his confidence. Every time he misses a shot, like there was a moment where he missed that dunk, and I think that was Game 6, and then his whole demeanor, his countenance just drops. He has to mature as a player. And I think that he will because, we got to remember his rookie season, he didn't even play that year. So he has to continue to build his confidence. I think a lot of that will come with the fact that now these guys are going to be seasoned vets going into next season. Like you got, Lou Dort's of the world, now it's Caruso's, if they can stay. Those are solidified, made men in the NBA that can continue to build up his confidence. I would like to see the coach, Mark Daigneault, really unlock Chet Holmgren as a Kenny Atkinson unlock Evan Mobley. I think that that's the next step for Chet Holmgren. He needs to develop his confidence offensively and, try to put on more weight, bro. Like, it's bad out there, dog. Like, I was watching the parade, championship parade, and everybody was giving their speeches. And when he was giving his speech, they had him holding the trophy, and the trophy looked heavy as hell. He couldn't hold it. So Chet Holmgren, bro, you gotta get stronger, dog. Go over there and talk to KG and learn from him. They're out there working with Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is Kevin Durant. If a door was closed, he could walk through a closed door. So talk to those niggas about how they can maintain their strength at those frames. And if he can add that to his game, he'll be scary to see. But yeah, let's just pump the brakes on the dynasty shit, man. We got to stop being prisoners of the moment. I know that we're excited, but we got to remember and recall that we do this every damn year, and we've been doing it really since 2020. Like since the Lakers won that weak ass championship, it's not a real championship. Every single team since then we've said, besides the Golden State Warriors in 2022, we've said, oh, this team can win another one. They're on dynasty talks. Did that with them. Did that with Giannis and the Bucks. We did that with Jokic. We did that with Boston. We're doing that now. So let's just pump the brakes. I think that this team is set up to be better than those other teams. They have the most opportunity, the most potential to continue to win. But let's just pump the brakes because these other teams out there making moves. I know y'all niggas saw what Houston did to get my boy KD. You know, we go and they not done. They got assets that they can mortgage. They want to get some more. So I heard that man Nick Wright talking about Giannis. Ooh, I ain't gonna lie. I'm gonna say that for that Houston Rockets video. But if they were to acquire Giannis at that trade deadline with KD, oh, we just might have to. Hey, we just might have to turn off the TV because that shit would be unfair.
Facts. That's unfair lineup. That's like, some 2K stuff where, in my league, you just mess around and trade the best players, to the same team. Like, that's unfair. But, I've been waiting to talk about this, so I got to take the glasses off of this. Ladies and gentlemen, SGA, Mr. Canada, MVP, number 2, or man, that brother, I'm saying it here, best player in the world, best player in the NBA till further notice, the Finals MVP. He's the greatest Thunder of all time. I've been waiting to say this. That man has done something that Westbrook hasn't done, that KD hasn't done. Yeah, they won MVPs and all that, but SGA got the cherry on top. He got that championship. He got the Finals MVP. So, I mean, it's safe to say that the brother is the greatest Thunder of all time. And we can go on to talk about, the numerous records that he's broken. I mean, the man scored, what is it, the second most amount of points in the season behind like MJ or something? Like, I mean, it's facts. And the brother is in all-time talks. I mean, he's had a season that only 3 people have had. One of that is MJ, known as the greatest player of all time. And then you got Shaq and Kareem, who is interchangeable as, the GOATs at the center position. SGA, as far as going into next season, best player in the league. I mean, the Thunder, they're on a roll. Even though you can say this, the Thunder, they definitely had some that they need to work on. Like they definitely had a historic defense for sure, but the offense was definitely sometimes kind of shaky. There was a lot of times that that was the reason why they were losing games, but the defense is what kept them in those games. So the Thunder definitely, that's probably honestly like the only thing I could say that the Thunder need to work on. But dynasty talks, you can say that they can be in them. I wouldn't mind saying it. I think I'll keep on to it because honestly, I think the Thunder will be kind of the best team of the decade just because of they got the recent MVP. It doesn't look like SGA is letting his foot off the gas. J-Dub, Jalen Williams, all he has to do is, find that consistency, and he's on he's getting talks as far as having a Scottie Pippen-esque career. And, Chet Holmgren, he was looking like an all-star throughout, many times in his playoffs. The only thing with him was his health. So as long as he comes back healthy, that big 3, they're probably going to look like the best big 3 in the league. So the only thing that can stop this team is money because they got the draft capital. I mean, this team got 5. They got 5. What was it? 5 or however many picks in this draft. They got 2 first-round picks in this draft, and they just won a championship. Like they got 2 first-round picks in this NBA draft, and they still got Nikola Topic, who didn't even play this year. Like they still got that man come back, and ain't no telling how good he can be. So this OKC roster is definitely loaded. I agree with Bardo. This team should be favored going into next season as repeating to win a title. But that Rockets team, they're making moves. I mean, they just got KD. And Amin Thompson, I'll get more into this in the KD video, but I mean that brother Amin Thompson, I mean his ceiling looks through the roof. Like he's in the lab right now with the trainer that SGA was training with, the point guard whisperer. So and he's got KD, one of the greatest shooters of all time, one of the most efficient shooters of all time, in his corner, talking to him now, helping him. So I mean that can look real scary with the Rockets, especially with having a coach that's made it to the finals that was also close to winning it. But OKC, they capped off historic season, 68 win season. And the main reason why I go into saying, dynasty talks and all that is because, it definitely reminds you of, when the Warriors, when they started winning, everybody was kind of hating, or at least in recent years, they've started kind of, downplaying that 2015 finals win because, Kyrie was out and K Love was out. So that's going into, this Thunder win. Everybody was like, oh, if Hallie was playing, in the game 7, he didn't get hurt. OKC would have lost just based off of, Tyrese Halliburton. He had 9 quick points and he was looking very aggressive. And you could definitely see that, him getting hurt, it sucked it sucked the life out of the Indiana Pacers. Like Obi Toppin even said it himself. He was like, yeah, I didn't have my head in the game. And we could clearly see that because he had like 0 points. He was not locked in at all. Aaron Nesmith, that was his 3rd time fouling out in the series. Miles Turner's been bad the entire series anyways. TJ McConnell, brother. Oh my gosh, TJ McConnell. Honestly, I've never seen an NBA player piss me off. His game pissed me off as much as him. Like the one trick pony he is. He was the only person keeping, the Indiana Pacers alive, but at the same time he was also hurting them. In that 3rd quarter he had on the game he had like 7 turnovers. And then, Andrew Nembhard, he tries to be like SGA so bad, but he's on like 6'1", 6'2", so ain't nobody really, fazed by that. So that Indiana Pacers, even though they were still in the game for, majority of the time, because that team, they got heart. And Rick Carlisle, I mean, he is a great head coach. Like his game plan is amazing. But, OKC, even if, Hallie would have still played, I still think that it probably would have came down to the wire, but I think OKC would have won, at home. OKC doesn't lose back-to-back games. They haven't lost a back-to-back game in a long time. They didn't lose a back-to-back game in the playoffs. And I think Indiana was like 0 for some in their like past like 5 Sunday games. So, statistics was showing that OKC, had the advantage, even though they were shooting pretty poorly. OKC, I think they still would have found a way to get it done. So OKC, as far as the future, I think the future is very bright for them. Going into this summer, the big thing is that money, because, SGA, he's probably going to be making over $70 million a year. And then they also have to worry about, Chet Holmgren paying him, because he's going to come off that rookie deal, as far as Jalen Williams as well. So the money will definitely be scarce, but it shouldn't be as much of a problem to them because, like I said, they got a lot of draft picks. They got a lot of draft stock for a long time. So even if they have to, cut a few players loose, they can plug some players right back in. So honestly, I'm gonna say it here. I think OKC is going to be, the team of the decade. You can leave a comment about this and let us know what you think. I think OKC is, on the way to their Warriors year. If they can beat, this Rockets team and how they're finna look, or this Dallas team or this Spurs team, if they can beat those teams and make it back to to the finals, because I don't think, whoever comes out the East, I don't think they're going to beat whoever comes out the West, because now you got a Boston Celtics team, no Jason Tatum for the next year. You got a Bucks team with only Giannis, no Dame for the next year. And then you got a Pacers team, no Hallie for the next year. So I think it's going to be another Western Conference team, finna get that dub in the finals. And as of now, I'm pushing for OKC to win it. No, I'm not an OKC fan. I'm a Grizzlies fan, but I'm rooting for them boys. I was rooting for them boys since the beginning of the season. Ever since they got Alex Caruso, I was saying this, and I believe we made a video towards the beginning of the season. I was saying this. I said that was the piece to get them a win in the finals, because he had that experience, and he's a dog. The bald eagle is a dog, and it showed. That man showed up on defense. I mean, he was locking up Jokic in that series. He was putting the clamps on, and in the conference finals, and then in the finals. I mean, his defensive presence was known. You know, Lou Dort as well. Casey Wallace, you know, he's a pretty good defender, but you know, he's kind of small. But yeah, this OKC team, I mean, they're loaded, man. So as far as the future looks for OKC, is bright. You know, congratulations to them. Even though, you know, looking at their parade, I mean, it looked like, I don't know, maybe the folks living in the city of Oklahoma would, you know, at work or something. Maybe they didn't mark it on their calendar that they were having a parade or something. But you know, it was looking pretty dry for, you know, that 2 mile radius. And, you know, I was seeing in the comments that folks were saying, you know, they had like fences up, and folks were saying it was looking like a Walking Dead barricade. Like it was kind of crazy. I don't know why they had the fences up and stuff. It's kind of hilarious. But yeah, man, OKC, as far as I know, them boys, they legit. And the only thing, like I said, the only thing that they can honestly improve is their offense. Like they just gotta, you know, be better at shooting. And the only thing I can say on the defense is, you know, giving up the open shots, because they did throughout that series. They gave up a lot of open shots, especially them corner threes. Like Neesmith was knocking those down, Toppin was knocking those down. So, you know, it's kind of like the little things that OKC got to pick up on. But, you know, going into next season, they're going to be very confident. You know, I think they'll cruise through next year. Or, hey, maybe they can shock us and be a 70 plus win team. You know, I might be asking for too much, but hey, you never know, man.